Sir, the session has started. Sir, over to you. Welcome you to the session. The session has started, sir.
Okay. Good morning to everybody. I welcome all of you to the today presentation. Today we have chosen the topic which we are going for detailed discussion in the webinar is the principle of natural justice, and it is the need of the hour under GST law. And this topic actually is linked to the disputes that arises under the GST law. Different provisions which has been provided under the GST law requires the compliance from the supplier side or the recipient side or dealer side, we can say. Many cases the dealer even if he complied, but the department disputed the matters. So the topic actually we have selected by keeping in view the present requirement of the participants, and we can debate on the topic on different issues, and the requirement of principle of natural justice in the context of starting from the raising of scrutiny of returns and ending with the dispute resolution. So what are the issues arises? Some practical issues also I will try to discuss. So let us first, I can say that when the GST was rolled out in the 1st July 2007, institutes, different trade bodies, and the one of the objective of the introduction of the GST law that the dispute is to be reduced. And the in addition to the number of advantages which was cited during the pre-GST period before the implementation. So one of the important objective of the introduction of the GST law that the plethora of disputes which continued at different forums of the judiciary, starting from the appeal stage, ending with the Honorable Supreme Court, and that can be reduced. But after the implementation of the GST from 1st July 2017, and we are running the 6th year, I think, and it is during the 6th year, number of issues has been raised. And the most important issue is the scrutiny of returns. And during the scrutiny of returns, different notices has been issued to the dealers or the receiver, the suppliers of either goods or service or both under the GST law. The reply has been submitted by the supplier on the receipt of the different notices. Compliances to some extent has been made. Some cases compliance could not be made because of different reasons. And after the scrutiny, when the matter is become dispute, many cases it is referred for taking action under section 73, 74 on the ground of suppression of tax, evading of the tax, and different reasons has been given. Audit has been conducted, particularly if we see during this period, particular starting from last 2 years, if we find number of departmental audit has been conducted. Even also many cases so-called notices has been issued and which has not been solved, but the order has been passed. The different GST authorities also going for issuing different notices, including so-called notices, and on the same year at multiple locations. So this has piled of number of disputes, and the taxpayers having no other alternative to go by making the payment of the taxes as a pre-deposit and going for the appeal. And even also appealated forum stage, you will find the GST tribunal also not been fully functional. So it leads to pending of a number of cases at different levels, and in many cases people are going to filing the writ before the Honorable High Court, and Honorable High Court basis of order by making pre-deposit the balance demand is stayed. So before going for the detailed discussion, I will just start. I have divided this particular topic for discussion in two parts. One is what are the causes of a dispute, The second one is what is the requirement, what is the principle of natural justice, and that is the requirement in the present context, and what are the ingredients, or we can say what is the conditions to be fulfilled to have a natural justice in the process of dispute resolution, and that is the second part we are going to discuss. Students will find under the GST law, it has been so designed that the self-assessment has been given more importance. So that means the due date of the section 7 talks about the supply of goods or services. The definition has been prescribed. So it is very inclusive definition, broad definition. And the section 9 talks about the levy and the collection of the taxes. 11 talks about the exemptions. So unless any supply of goods or services or both is not exempted, and that is covered under the scope of section 7, then one is liable to pay the GST on the such supply of goods or services, or we can say both. Both is the maybe a mixed supply, maybe a composite supply. And it is so designed that after every periodical occasion, one has to file the return. It is the GSTR 1, which talks about the filing of a return of a supply as outward supply. GSTR 3B, one is going for making the payment of taxes by the due date, in addition to the composition dealer and order dealers, and quarterly filing of return in some cases that and the date has been fixed. So once you return filed and making the payment of taxes, either out of the input tax credit ledger or by utilization of the cash ledger, whatever balance is available to you, and filing the GSTR 3B, then the tax has been credited to the government account and government can got the revenue. But the here department is not going to interfere. So the assessee himself, the dealer himself, filing the outward supply. So whatever amount shown in the outward supply, that has been taken into consideration in the GSTR 3B, and the GSTR 3B, they are discharging the liability. So this is talks about the self-assessment. One has to assess himself what is the tax payable, and accordingly they pay the tax. So the payment of taxes subsequently, when they are making the payment of taxes, the payment of taxes may be a self-assessment tax, which we can say, without interference of the department. So it is covered under section 59. And in some cases when there is a difficulty, then the one can go for provisional assessment, and then the scrutiny of return is very important. Whatever return has been filed, department is taking up for the scrutiny. We will go for detailed discussion on the particular points. And assessment of null filers also covered in the section 62. Assessment of unregistered persons covered in the section 63. Summary assessment in some cases, special cases also undertaken under section 64. So these are the activities or the provisions of which has been covered under GST law, both CGST and state GST or union GST, and that will be covered under the group of assessment. And the second case, the audit, which is covered under section 65 and 66, and then the investigation undertaken under section 67, that is the department has the power of inspection, search and seizure. Then the inspection of goods during the movement, that is covered under section 68. They have the power to arrest in certain circumstances to avoid whenever there is a doubt about the evasion of the taxes. Then the power to summon some person to give evidence and produce documents. This is the investigation powers has been inbuilt, and most of the cases you will find the assessee has been served with the notice under section 70. And though the section 70 is a particular section where the person has to give evidence and produce documents, it is a very extreme case one has to go for. But in the routine manner, the department is going on issuing the notices under section 70. And in addition to that, the demand and the tax recovery has been undertaken under certain circumstances, particularly by taking the help of the provisions that are contained in the section 73, and matters not involved any fraud. and in case of section 74 matters involved in the fraud. So these are the overview of the provisions that lay down under the uh, uh, GST law, and which are mostly related to the demand and recovery, and these are the litigation area arises out of these provisions. So now, if you go for what is happening, one is self-assessment. As already I told you, the assessee himself has to determine what is the tax payable, and that determination based upon the tax invoices has been raised. All the tax invoices generally has to be raised in two occasions. One is the outward supply, one is the inward supply, where there is the RCM reverse charge mechanism is applicable. So in that case, the recipient of the service has to raise the invoice, and accordingly can take the GST paid as input to tax credit wherever they are eligible for that. And most of the cases, the outward supply, whatever may be the dealer, the composition dealer or any other dealer, whether tax invoice has been issued or other than tax invoice has been issued. So in that case, they have to pay the GST as a self-assessment. Department is not going to interfere in this respect. And sometimes what happens, the provisional assessment can be taken place where the taxable person is unable to determine the value or the rate of tax. You know that the notification has been issued particularly under the GST law for both the goods and services, citing the rate of taxes that are applicable to different supply of goods and services, which are covered under different SSN code and SSC codes, whatever has been provided, and the rate as applicable to is applied. And accordingly, certain cases also exemptions are applicable on nil rate GST is applicable. So in that case, sometimes the supplier may not in a position to determine itself or make a self-assessment to cover which category of SSC or HSN code it is covering, or what the rate of tax is applicable. So in that case, they can take the help of the department. So in that case, the taxable person shall furnish an application along with the documents in support of his request, and the proper officer, after calling of the additional information and documents, if required, issue an order indicating therein the value and the rate that is applicable, and the amount on which the and in that case what happens, a bond has to be accepted, and in case of subsequently when the provisional assessment converted to the final assessment, any differential tax is there that has to be paid, or any excess tax has been paid that has to be refunded along with the interest. So both cases interest is applicable, and this has been provided under the law to make it convenient on the part of the assessee to discharge the tax liabilities. Hence, as I clarified you, I will take the total session I divided in two parts, and the first part I have to give a thorough light about the different provisions that subsequently causes the litigation. And second part, we will see what is the requirement to be fulfilled to have a principle of natural justice and have a speaking order, so that assessee can get a proper justice in the matter. And during this discussion also, I will try to cover some of the practical issues which I faced as an advocate, though I am a cost accountant and a company secretary by qualification and fellow member of the institute, but after my retirement, I preferred to have the Bar Council license, and I am making practice before the Honorable Odisha High Court and other places also. Some practical issues I will highlight how the department is dealing with these dispute matters, and even if the assessee or its legal representative is submitting the reply along with the documents and which has not been concluded, that leads to in absence of the principle of natural justice. So the first part I will take already taking first, so I am advancing with that first part. Second part we will discuss subsequently. So in the first part, if you go about when I talk about the your assessment, audit, and the power of investigation, then the demand and recovery, the four category. In the first category, already I told the self-assessment. Second category, already I told the provisional assessment. And third is the scrutiny of returns. Scrutiny of returns plays very important role in the GST regime. Hence, you will find the state GST and central GST, both cases, they are undertaking scrutiny of the returns, whatever you filed within due date or even also after due date. to GST 1, GST 3B, and the input tax credit that is reflected in the GST 2A, and from this year onwards it is GST 2B. And in addition to that, your annual returns, GST 9 and 9C. This is in case of the supplier, those who are discharging the liability as an outward supplier. In addition to that, those who are the composition dealers, other dealers, the dealers, those are paying the cases of RCM, other cases further scrutiny has been taken place. So now question is, in order to verify the accuracy of the returns, the proper official may examine return and seek explanations. And friends, just I'm telling, the proper officer has been defined, and generally the department officers, keeping in view the volume of transactions, they have been distributed with the assignment of the work of scrutiny. And most of the cases, when they found that, in first case they found that during the scrutiny there is a mismatch of the inform, and or sufficient information has not been provided, or mismatch has been taken place in between the GST 1, GST 3B, or we can say the even also annual returns which are filed is not matching with the financial statements. So here the other returns has been filed, so they can go for the issue of the notices, and they will seek the proper explanation within certain date. And if the explanation offered, generally you as an assessee, you have to offer the reply. If you have not offered the reply, then subsequent action can be, the so-called notices can be issued. So generally it is your duty, you should be duty bound to reply to the returns. And if no adequate explanation has been offered, or no return, no reply has been submitted, then the proper officer under section 65, 66, 67, 73 and 74, already I highlighted you, and they can either go for the audit or they can go for the demand and recovery of the amount. So friends, here you will find a procedure has been laid down, just after some time we will discuss. So in that procedure you will find and how practically it is functioning, that also I highlight to some extent under this category. Then the next point will come as assessment of non-filers. So in case of non-filers, in case of non-filers, sometimes the person concerned have the registration, GST number is there, it is a valid registration number, still the return has not been furnished as required under section 46. So in that case, the proper officer shall assess the liability of the tax within the period of 5 years from the date of specified under section 44. That is the generally the filing of annual return, due date of filing of the annual return one has to go for. Assessment of unregistered persons, there is a provision also contained. Then the scrutiny assessment in certain special cases also, it has given power to the proper officer to go for the scrutiny assessment. And at present, if we go for the this assessment, the scrutiny assessment is generally taken place who have filed the return under section 39. Those who have not filed, in that case, the department can go for asking for the filing of the return, or on the basis of information, the non-filers of a return under section 39 or under section 45, the final return, whatever is there, they can ascertain the tax, and accordingly they can go for liability of the payment of the taxes. And many of the cases also summary assessment has been taken place by the department. Here, just one point I will tell you. So what is the present context? The scrutiny assessment is going on. How the scrutiny is done by the department? The tax, if you go to this slide, you can have a better idea. The tax official will scrutinize the taxpayer to whom notices shall be served. So already I told you the returns, if there is a mismatch of any figure, or one point just I will tell you, you might have seen in this financial year, the GST law has been amended, and it's a sequential filing of the return. You have you have to file the GST 1, then subsequently you have to file the GST 3. You cannot file the GST 3B without filing of the GST 1. And whatever return you are filing under register 1 as a outward supply, that must be reflected in the register 3B. And if there is a mismatch, generally the department can go for filing scrutiny, and accordingly they can go for the issue of the notices for the discrepancy. Second point is, many cases you will find the annual return has been filed, and annual return, whatever figures they have filed, sometimes they are showing that many cases additional tax has been paid along with the annual return or GST 9. GST 9C, whose cases it is applicable, you will find the differences has been sometimes also reflected there. Either payment of the taxes, interest has not been paid, or the tax has not been paid, but the GST 9C also filed. And you may be aware that the CBDT, Central Board of Direct Taxes, and the Central Board of Indirect Taxes, they have a memorandum, MOU, memorandum of undertaking, whereby both the department can access to the each other's web portal of a department of CBIC can have the access to the CBDT portal and CBDT income tax department portal, or the income tax e-filing portal also accessible to the indirect tax department, or we can say the GST department. So what happens, sometimes on the basis of return filed by the under the Income Tax Act and the tax audit report filed, from there the figures can be taken to compare with the return filed under the GST law. And even also I'm talking service tax period, you might have seen the service tax department, or we can say the central excise and service tax department, or the GST department at present have issued number of notices, and citing that the return of whatever turnover you have shown in the income tax department in the ITR filing, the same is not matching with the service tax return has been filed. Though there is a region of difference, because whatever amount of turnover has been sold, has been shown in the financial statement, doesn't mean that it is exactly the turnover under the GST law. But it is also one of the ground by which number of show causes has been issued, notices has been issued, explanation has been invited, then the show cause has been issued, show cause reply has been taken, adjudication has been taken place, and in many cases matter also disputed, many cases matter has been dropped, and dispute to traveling for a long period. The similar situation has been also arises at present, whereby the department also sometimes comparing the figures of the other department and issuing the notices. So now question here is as a first step, scrutinize the taxpayer to whom the notice shall be served, then issue a show cause notice in the STMT 10, different forms has been prescribed for the issue of the notices and etc. And in that case, what will happen? The the applicant has an adjournment been applied when any notices has been issued. The present contest, just I wanted to explain the manner of issue of the notices, because unless you understand this point, we can only discuss the principle of natural justice or the different requirements under the law, because of the present context how the department is acting. And you will find the central tax department and the state tax department both are different, even if the provision is the same, but the pattern of issue of notices are different. Just I can tell you, if you go to the CGST department, you will find the CGST web portal is not properly working, and the notices which has been issued physically has been issued, and even also many of the cases you have to submit the reply physically, and in many cases you can able to submit it, and you can upload in the web portal, so it is not fully functional, whereas the state portals are fully functional. Particularly I am talking about Odisha. If you see, all the issue of scrutiny notices are uploaded in the department portal, and they are not sending any physical copy, and the reply you have to only submit in the web portal. Then the order has to be issued only in the web portal. There is some difficulty in the location of the orders, because there is one if you go to the user service, you will find all the orders have been uploaded in the additional orders and notices. So we do not know where the different heads they are keeping, but again it is also confusing. But still then it has advantage. Issue of notices in the web portal, advantages as well as disadvantages. Small traders, small suppliers, many cases they are not able to track the notices has been issued. Friends, you cannot imagine. I will come across with many of the situations where the every month notices has been issued showing that there is a discrepancy, and these notices has been uploaded and no physical intimation has been given or email intimation has been given. Whereas in central case, this scrutiny is not to that extent what the state is taking up. So here the issue is first is issues has been the notices has been issued frequently. Second is the dealer is not in a position to track the notices. By that time, the due date of a reply has been already completed or over. The time given for submission of reply are inadequate. It is very only 7 days. Many cases 7 days. If you go for the adjournment may not be allowed to you also officially. And even if physically you are meeting to the officers, you will find they are allowing only 1 week. So that means we found that there may be a mandate of collection of taxes for which these notices has been issued. And in many cases we found that the no doubt about it, many of the dealers are not filing the return, not paying the tax, but the returns those who are filing regularly, they are also subject to more scrutiny. And once they started scrutiny, it is a routine scrutiny for every year. That is we found in many cases. So now question here is when a so-called notice has been issued citing that there is a mismatch of figures, there is a differential tax has been arises, you paid the short tax. So in that case, on the receipt of that notice in the prescribed format SMT10, then you have to go for reply. If you have not go for reply, assume that you have not taken in adjournment, then does the taxpayer respond? Let taxpayer has not responded. Neither you go for adjournment or nor you have responded. Then what will happen? Now the proper officer shall have following options. The first option is initiate the proceeding under section 73 and 74, and then recommend the case to initiate proceeding under section 65, 66, 67. 65, 66, 67, these are covered under the audit. So this is the first stage we can say. Second case, suppose I am telling the adjournment has not been sought, but does the taxpayer respond? Yes, he immediately responded. He has not seek the adjournment. The time whatever fixed, he immediately responded, and the taxpayer responded. So that has to be responded ASMT 11. The response has to be given, and once the response has been given, then whether the response is satisfactory. Suppose it is not satisfactory, then what will happen? Now immediately the proper officer will go for issue of the so-called notice 73 and 74, or can recommend for the audit. Assume that he has made adjournment. The third situation where on receipt of the notice, the taxpayer may not have all the documents. So immediately he has gone for making the requesting for adjournment. So once he gone for adjournment, then what will happen? So whether the response is satisfactory because adjournment has been asked, so the time has to be allowed. Many cases time is not allowed. So that's why we are going to cover the discussion. So what is the principle of necessary stage and where the present system is lacking. So this is one of the case where it is lacking. The adjournment time, the adjournment at all not responded or not, no time has been allowed. Immediately have gone for the issue of the notices. So in that case, whether any action is taken is required? No. So if required, action is not taken within 30 days of communication or extended date, then they will go for the same section 73. They have to go for drawing it. And whether any action is taken, if required, then they can conclude the proceeding by issuing the ASMT 12. So generally, whenever you are receiving any of the notices during the scrutiny stage, immediately you have to respond. And for responding, you have to track always the your web portal. You see whether it is uploaded. Central case, they are issuing the notices, and physically many of the cases physical notices have been issued, and you are in a position to track. And many states, particularly I'm talking in Odisha, or many some of the states also, it was a request made by many of the tax practitioners association that in addition to putting the notices in the portal, at least a physical copies should be sent to the email ID so that it can be easily tracked. But in many cases it has not been accepted. So this is the generally scrutiny stage. The three important forms has been used: ASMT 10, 11, and 12, and these are the situations. And the lacuna here is many of the cases the recipient or the dealer may not in a position to respond to the notices because he is not in a position to trace out the notices in the web portal. Everybody is not opening the web portal. Second, sometimes they are seeking time. The time is always given is very short. Time is not adequate. I found many of the occasions it is only 7 days. So 7 days time is insufficient to test out any of the records and make a reconciliation and a response. Even adjournment has been requested. Adjournment also many cases not allowed. And even if whatever you submitted, it is also passed, the order has been passed with a pre-motive that tax demand has to be raised. This is very important, friends. I am talking, suppose even if you reply you submitted, but it will be concluded immediately with issue of a show cause notice. And we found that the show cause notice also been issued. The person who has issued the show cause notice, he is also the adjudicating officer in many of the state cases, but it is not in the central case. In case of central GST, the issuing officer of the adjudication, sorry, show cause notice is different from the person who is adjudicating the matter, even in the same rank, because of the delegation of power. So these are the observations I have on the scrutiny of the records. We will discuss its pros and cons, and we can also proceed further. As already I told you, generally the annual accounts reconciliation has been taken place, section 35. We know that section 35 has been discontinued, and a tax audit has been taken by tax authorities under section 65 and special audit. Since a special audit has not been undertaken at present to my understanding, department has not initiated so far. But many of the cases you will find the audit is conducted by the tax authorities. Friends, I have certain observation on this aspect. As already we discussed, in a routine manner, department is undertaking audit, and the audit is undertaken by the DGGI, that is General of Investigation, and you know that it is a central having an investigation department. State is also having an investigation, and they are undertaking the audit. And in addition to that, there is a audit team in the central GST as well as state GST. They can also undertake the audit. You know, as a pattern of allotment of GSTN, many of the dealers are allotted to the state government GST department, and many of the dealers are allotted to the central government GST department. But for the purpose of audit, just I'm telling investigation, anybody can do the audit of any others, those are covered under different registration. Suppose X company is registered with the central GST, and the state GST can also make investigation, state GST can also make audits. And similarly, central GST can also make the investigation of the state dealers, those are registered with the state authorities, and can also go for investigation. And in the process, what happens, even also I found many of my client cases also, a particular year audit has been undertaken by both the DGGI, even also state government, even also central government. It also found that on the same matter, 2, 3 show cause notices has been issued with different figures in the same matter also. This is actually the present context if it is so. And again, I'm telling, when there is a procedure has been laid down for going for the audit, And when the audit is undertaken by the department, a notice has been served that ask for the submission of a document prior to commencement of the audit. And once you submitted the documents, you should very carefully, and you should submit the document immediately, respond them. And if any other department is going for the audit for the same issue same year, you also intimate to kept in advance. And I found that in the same year, Central GST also issued the notices, State GST also issued the notices. Even also Central GST, the range office also issued the notices for the audit, whereas the Central GST office, the central team also issued the notices for the audit of the same year. So we found my suggestion is that the first notice you respond, second notice you don't deny them, because you cannot deny for the audit. But you tell them that you intimate them that since the already audit is initiated, so this your audit may be kept in advance till this audit is completed to avoid the duplicacy. But even if that also, sometimes we found the duplicacy of the audit reports. So this is the present context we find. And another point is just you can see also, because these are very much required. And from here, if we discuss about what is the requirement of a principal minister justice, what is the basic requirements, then you compare at whether really the department is giving justice to you or not. And at present, one thing I found, many of the cases, the audit team conducted the audit, issued number of show cause notices, audit notices, or we can say the audit paras, better we can say audit paras. And you will find, let one client, I am giving one example. A particular year audit has been conducted. 11 audit paras has been issued. And the audit para which has been issued, it was replied by the concerned dealer with each audit para. And after 7-8 months, and they have issued each para having one show cause notice. In a particular year, 10 audit para were raised. On the basis of 10 audit para, the reply submitted, individual audit para wise. The department reviewed it, the audit team reviewed it, and we immediately received the show cause notices, and we received the 11 show cause notices for the 11 audit paras for a particular year. And the one of the para, I'm just recapitulating that your reply submitted to the audit para has been reviewed. The committee of the view that the reply is not satisfactory, hence recommended for the issue of the show cause notice. This is the invariable para is put in most of the audit. So question here is, why not one show cause notice covering all the audit para? No doubt about it, it is beneficial to the practitioner, but it is not beneficial to the particular dealer, because he has to reply 10 show cause notices. So 10 proceedings we can say, and 10 proceeding means again if the each proceeding will go against you, then 10 appeals you have to file. You cannot combine the appeals. So it is become the voluminous. And it may be one of the reasons what I ascertain, that if the paras will bifurcate, the financial limit will be reduced, so it can be dealt at a superintendent level, or the law officers, those are the assistant state tax officers level. So this is the present context, just I explained to you, and this is prevailing in the present context. And the reply which also you submitted, you will find very simple. They are writing that the reply submitted is not convincing. In many cases, particularly I have the experience with the state, just I'm explaining to you. In one occasion, we submitted the reply. The para-wise reply has been submitted in the show cause, and depending the imposition of a penalty and interest, because there is no tax demand should be there. And the order has been passed, a very sketchy order. The reply submitted is not acceptable. Hence, the proceeding has been initiated. That is this much is the demand, this is the penalty, this is the interest. So this much the order has been issued, very 2-3 pages order. But your 20 pages reply has not been reflected there or not discussed there also. So this is the when there is a recommendation made in the scrutiny stage, or as a audit part, the department went on undertaking the audit under section 65. 66 special audit has not been started to my understanding. And this thing already I told you that there is a period is there. So the time period 90 days, there is a further extension 90 days. A special audit is not undertaken, so we'll now discuss about the special audit. Then the question is when the this is very shortly I have told, so I will not go for again repeat of the discussion. And the next part is the show cause proceedings. What is the circumstances under which show cause proceeding has been issued? Friends, you know that section 74 and 73 and 74, two sections has been uh, taken place when the proper officer who is scrutinizing is not satisfied with the reply you submitted, or you have not responded to his notices, or you have not sought adjournment, and neither sought adjournment nor also replied. So in all these cases, they can go for the issue of the show cause notices under section 73-74, and where it appears to the proper officer that tax has not been paid, or short paid, or erroneously refunded, or IT has been wrongly availed or utilized, and for any reason, and any reason other than the region specified in the section 74, then 73 proceeding can be started. So 73 proceeding will start not a fraud case, not any willful misstatement, there is no suppression of facts to evade tax, but there is also tax short paid, or the tax has not been paid, erroneously refund made, or IT has been wrongly availed. So in that case, section 73 has to be drawn. Section 73 will be undertaken or will be taken off by the department when there is a because of there is a fraud, there is any willful misstatement, and the suppression of facts only to evade the tax. So in the GST context, the suppression facts has been defined, but which is not taken in the right spirit by the department. Suppression facts shall mean non-declaration of facts or information with which a taxable person is required to declare in the written, mark the word, written statement, report, or any other document furnished under this Act, the rules made thereunder, or failure to furnish any information on being asked for the writing by the proper officer. Friends, just to see which is required to be given or declared in the written statement, report, or any other document furnished under either 9 or 9C or GST 1 or 3B, we can say, or department asks certain documents we have not provided, and by this my intent is to pay the tax, then 74 will be there. But what happens in the present context, everything has been taken as if it is a section 74. So, the show cause notices which are severely affecting the dealers, because the number of show cause notices has been issued which are suffering from number of defects, but the proceeding is going on and demand has been raised. So it seems that as if the department or the government officials are in the mood of collection of taxes. No doubt about it, wherever there is a suppression or wherever the intent of the dealer is to evade the tax, wrong ITC has been taken, it is their duty responsibility to see it and issue the show cause notices. But at the same time, it should be dealt properly with a reasoned speaking order, and certain opportunity to be given to the dealer and to be heard in person or by his legal representative, and adjournment wherever required to be allowed, and if submissions made by the dealer or his authorized representative should be countered, and demand should be raised. So they should not raise the demand without discussion of the submissions made, then it has no use of that. So the lack of a principle of natural justice given to the assessee in the proceedings. So these are the section 73 generally, and the willful misstatement. These are not been defined, but these are the cases where you are deliberately intend to uh, not to show intentionally. You do not want to show or the misstatement the information in the whatever information you are giving to the government. And fraud, it is not defined in the act, but if you go to the section 17 of contract act, it is talks about that a person does not believe it to be true, but it is given to you. So that means he knows it is not true, but he wanted to pose before you as if it is correct. So he concealed something, then it can be treated as a fraud. So in case of willful misstatement, suppression of facts and fraud, section 74 can be attracted, and other than that, section 73 is attracted, and there is a difference is there also. In the section 73, the difference is in case of section 73, since the intent is not to, intent is other than fraud, misstatement, or suppression of facts. So the penalty is 10% or 10,000 rupees, whichever is higher. But in case of section 74, penalty is a huge penalty. It is 100% of the tax demand, which is sought to be not paid or short paid, or it is availed, wrongly availed and utilized. Availed and utilized, not availed only, availed and utilized. And there is a time period is there. The notices has to be issued at least 3 months prior to the time limit. Time limit is 3 years. So 2 months, 2 years, 9 months from the date of filing the annual return will be taken for the purpose of issue of the SOGAS notices. And in case of section 74, the period is 5 years from the due date of furnishing annual return, and the notice should be issued before 6 months from the, so that means 4 years, 6 months notices has to be issued. And friends, for your kind information, you might have seen many cases, the due date of annual return has been extended, so the period will be counted from that extended date. And now also by virtue of order, certain order, the department also extended the period of issue of the notices of section 73 and 74. And again, I am telling, you will find, if you go to the judicial pronouncements, the department is not accepting the judicial pronouncements in the process. So even also we found SOCOS notices has been issued, one SOCOS notice but covering more than 1 year, which should not be. As I remember, recently I was going to one of the Supreme Court judgment where it is very clearly given that since the time limit has been prescribed for each year under section 73-74, that means 3 years and 5 years from the due date of filing return. So the SOCOS notice which has been issued should be issued year-wise to count 3 years or 5 years from the due date of filing annual return. It should not be issued in a bulk years. If you bulk years it will be issued, then the period should not be counted, should be counted from each year end. So should not be for the entire period. That 2017, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. Many of the clients, the one SOCOS notice has been issued. So now question is 17, 18 is going to expire for section 73, and section 73, 74 anyhow, the date of issue of the order has been extended. So now you will find plenty of SOCOS notices has been issued covering past years, contradicting its own circular and notifications. The clarification which has been given, it is also contradicted, and the SOCOS notices have been issued, and the demand also raised without considering your reply which you have submitted. I will give some 7-8 issues, practical cases which adjudication order has been issued, appeal order has been issued in the time of discussion of the principle of financial justice in this regard. Then you can come to the, this already I discussed with you. In any amount you collected and but not paid, there is no time limit for issue of notices. So within 1 year from the date of issue of notice, the order has to be issued. And non-payment of self-assessment tax, so recovery proceeding will start directly. There is no issue of, so this is one of the very important points that I see. The department can go directly for recovery of the non-payment of the tax. You might have seen the amendment has been taken place. If anybody has not paid the tax, there is no requirement of go for the issue of the show cause notices. And you file the return of register 1, you have not filed register 3B. So that means automatically you are liable to pay the taxes. Friends, another point just I wanted to know that there is one amendment which has been taken place and is affecting. My view, it is regularizing the irregularities. You know that the time limit for issue of a show cause notice for section 73, 2 years 9 months. So that means 3 months prior to the end of the 3 years from the date of filing of annual return. So it includes the extended date of filing of annual return. And similarly, in case of section 74, 5 years means 4 years 6 months, 6 months prior to 5 years notice to be issued. And when during the notice has been issued for section 74, and during the course of proceeding, that issue of the show cause notice has been made adjudication proceeding, the adjudicating officer of the view that the proceeding does not attract section 74, so he can convert the proceeding from 74 to 73. No doubt it is helpful to the assessee, but at the same time the one question is coming to my mind, if the 73 could have drawn, then 3 years already passed. So a 5 years case, the show cause issued by keeping in view 5 years, but in the proceeding stage it has concluded under section 73, which means 3 years limitation. So is it a correct process? But the GST law contains that provision. Amendment has, to that effect has been reflected in the section 72 subsection 9, perhaps please check up it. So that means department knowingly can go for issue of the knowingly, but because they have already issued them every except ITC mismatch, I think almost all cases they are issuing the notices under section 74. But in some cases under section 74, when it is proved that there is no fraud, no intent to evade the tax, but there is a shortfall payment of taxes, then the adjudicating officer, the appellated authority, reducing the converting, the covering the penalty under instead of section 74, maybe in section 73. So is not a regularization of irregularity, or it's not a violation of the law. So and which ultimately also have a impact on the TC and a principle of necessary justice also. In this case, we can say to some extent can be violated, because the notices are the proceedings has not been drawn as per the provisions of the law, but still demand has persisted. And these are the monetary powers we'll now discuss. And this is the show cause notice adjudication process. Just have a look to it, whatever we discussed. Tax paid, the tax or the duty not levied, short levied, not paid, short paid, erroneously funded, input credit is wrongly availed, utilized. And in that case, two issues will come. One is the department contemplates action, issue of show cause notice, and there is a when there is no intent of the fraud. So in that case, it will be already we discussed. So in that case, 2 years, 3 months normal period, whatever is there, or we can say for 5 years, whatever provisions are is attracted. And assessee voluntarily pays the tax, so there is no requirement of issue of the show cause notice. And when the show cause notice has been issued, then generally the assessee accept the facts in the show cause notice, pay the tax. So the conclusion has been made, and demand whatever confirmed it is to be paid. And assessee does not accept the facts of the show cause notice, personal hearing has to be allowed. We will discuss in what is the issues are there. When you are submitted the reply, first show cause notice has been received with a submission of reply within short days, within limitation date. Friends, just I will tell you, in the central GST, we found that 30 days time they are giving for submission of the reply, for receipt of the communication of the show cause notice. But in the case of state GST, 30 days is not there. 7 days, 15 days. Most of the cases 7 days. And 7 days, 15 days is not a time for submission of a reply with huge data and also with the documents. Friends, just I will tell you, uh, first it is very difficult sometimes to trace out that SOGAS notices already issued. That means every day you have to open the GST portal, then you are in a position to track. So anyhow, that is the one of the lacuna or the one of the, and again, the maximum period of adjournment is the 3 adjournments. So you cannot give in opportunity more than 3. It is very clearly codified in the GST law. So though as a consultant or though as an assessee, always we have to adhere to that. But I found the department is not accepting adjournment more than 3 adjournments. So 3 hearing is minimum, sorry, maximum. One has to conclude that. And demand is confirmed means you have to, it may be fully confirmed, it may be partially confirmed, or it can be dropped also. Dropping of demand is very rare. And the order in original has to be passed after the personal hearing. And one thing we found during the personal hearing that department is not recording the whatever submissions you made before the department. You see what happens, a SOGAS notice issued to my client. My client approached me. I examined the SOGAS notice, whether it's covered under section 73 or 74. I just noted down what is the grounds on which SOGAS notices have been given. Whether the before the issue of the SOGAS notice, whether the fact has been adequately covered. I compared with the fact with the factual facts, and I found what is the discrepancy. And we have to make up mind to what ground I have to take. Not only I have to refer to the provisions, I have to refer to the circulars, notifications, and judicial pronouncements. And after keeping in mind, then I will go for drafting of the SOGAS reply. Then I'm uploading or submitting physically. As already I told, central GST portal is not sometimes properly working, not fully convenient for the submission. And state GST, most of the cases are very convenient. I don't have any idea in many of the states, but a few of the states I know, including Odisha, very easily you can upload and there is no issue at all. And after that, the immediately you will find the SOGAS notice date has been fixed. And I found particularly in the state GST, they issued the SOGAS notice with giving 2 dates. The first date is submission, second date is personal hearing. And most of the cases, the submission date is the personal hearing date. But in central GST, they are fixing another date as personal hearing. And both cases, extension is possible as per the provisions, 3 extensions are there. So now you submit whatever reply you submitted, we found that the department, I am just giving 2 views on my part. This is my independent views. What I experience, I am talking to you. The first view is the state GST case. You will find many of the cases, many, I'm not taking few officers are there, proper officers are there, those who are taking care of your submissions. They are not citing or discussing whatever submissions made. When a SOGAS notice has been issued with a tax demand, with interest, with penalty, so tax demand we are taking certain grounds, and my ground I am explaining with the provisions of law, the fact of the case, decision supports, and supporting circulars and notifications. Similarly, in case of interest, why the interest will not attract, why the penalty will not be attracted. And the department, particularly found in state department, they never put all your reply in the order in original or the adjudication order, and the adjudication order has been passed maybe with the 1-2 para that your observation they put it, and which is not correct. The adjudicating officer or the appellated authority has to pass the order countering the order if they do not agree to my submissions as a legal representative of my client. Para by para, they have to explain and counter it. The judicial decisions, what I have given, they have to counter, accept, not to accept. They have to give you the reason why not to accept. And Another thing I found in the state case also, the judiciary decisions of the pre-GST period, they are not discussing nor accepting. And central GST case, we found many of the officers, they are discussing your submissions para by para. They are countering it or accepting it. They are writing very correctly. And the case decisions, what we submitted, they are accepting or not accepting. They are giving their reason and passing the order. Many cases we found pick choose method. They have put your reply, and case laws they have not at all discussed. If discussed, one single line they are writing that these case laws are related to the pre-GST period, not acceptable or not applicable in the present context, and which is not correct. Friends, for your kind information, I am telling that any decision of the Supreme Court is binding to the all High Court and tribunal and lower courts, particularly appeal as well as department officers. Any order passed by the High Court is having a persuasive value for other High Court, not mandatory, but persuasive value. And the High Court order, jurisdictional High Court order is applicable, acceptable, or should be followed by the tribunal, and Odisha High Court order should be followed by tribunal, Odisha tribunal, as well as Commission of Appeal of Odisha and officers of the department. Similarly, other High Court may accept, may not accept, but it has a persuasive value. On the Supreme Court, many occasions of the decisions that if the decision of a High Court or tribunal is based upon All India Act, it is to be acceptable by the other High Courts. So your Income Tax Act, your Central Excise, Customs, Service Tax, GST, whatever order is passed by one High Court should be acceptable because it is All India Act. And similarly tribunal. But what we found, they are passing the order without adhering to the decisions in the whatever given in your favor, which you cited. Many cases we found that department even also not adhering to your order also. So in the same ACC case, the higher court has given the order, but department is not accepting it, not or overlooking, even also not discussing, knowingly not discussing. If they will discuss, they cannot have the any ground to not to accept it. That's why they are not putting, they are not discussing at all. So these are the circumstances, and the procedure, two slides are there. I am not going to discuss. You can refer to it. In this table, you can see what is the procedure has been laid down for the adjudication, because we have to go for the second part, which is very important for us for the discussion. And this is the wherever the adjudication has been passed or the revision order has been passed, then I can go for the appeal if I am not satisfied, or the department will go for appeal. For kind information, for your kind information, just I am telling, whatever order is passed in your favor at present, I am talking about All India contest. Whatever order is passed in the adjudication, most of the cases, the department is going to the appeal. I found recently some cases the adjudicating officer judiciously has incorporated all the submissions, interpreted the submissions made by the client and or illegal representative, and accepted it, reduced the tax and the penalty or interest, and passed the order in partially in favor or fully in their favor. But we found that the department within 6 months going to the appeal. So again, that means you have to go for the appeal. So department is not relying upon its departmental officers also. And whatever reason they have given, many of the cases we found these reasons are not adequate for going to the higher appeal when your officer has passed the order in favor of the client. So that means you do not want to leave the dispute closed in that particular stage. So you know that as per the present contest, the adjudication order when passed, then you are going to the appellated authority, or you are against the revision order, you are going to the tribunal. So in case of revision, you know that a revision order is passed by a commissioner, that's why you are going to the tribunal directly, appellated tribunal. But in case of adjudication order is passed by the lower officers or the commissioner, in that case you are going to the first appeal, commissioner appeal, then you are going to the appellated tribunal. Appellated tribunal has not been constituted, though constituted but not notified, but it has not been functional because members have not been appointed. And the 30 days, 90 days, whatever period is 3 months, 3 months has been prescribed, you have to file the appeal before the tribunal, is expired. And department in many cases found that after the expiry of 90 days, the recovery proceedings started. So that's why many of the clients I'm talking, they are going to the High Court, filing the writ, praying for the situation because the tribunal is not constituted. Even if there is a circular, there is a notification has been issued, the department, instruction has been issued that the appeal will be filed before the tribunal, GST tribunal, from 3 months from the date on which the president enters to the office of the tribunal. So even if that there, but demand is not going to stay. So every case, the SSCs are present going to the High Court and depositing 20%. You know that 10% of the tax demand has to be deposited at the first updated case, Commission of Appeal or Additional Commissioner of Appeal, and 20% you have to deposit in case of going to the tribunal. So almost all high courts on deposit of 20%, allowing you balance 70% to be stayed, because 10% already you made a pay deposit in the appeal stage and 20% in the high court retreat. So 30% is balance 70% stayed till the decision of the tribunal. But still we are waiting for the decision of the tribunal. So this is the stage at which we are in the condition, and we are waiting for we are accumulated with a lot of litigations and pending with the different stages. So in this contest, now question will arise, whatever the starting from the issue of a show cause notice, ending with the decision so far taken off, and the proceeding which is undertaken by the departmental officers, starting from the scrutiny with the issue of the orders. So order issued at a different stages, including the your adjudication orders and first of the orders. Second of the order has not come out. So is they following the principle of financial justice? So now we can say, before discussion was some of the issues I will discuss, and we can see what is the why it is required first, why the principle of natural justice is a need of the hour, and is there in violation of principle of natural justice? In general, I will tell there is a lot of violation of natural justice in the proceeding undertaken by the department, and we are the witness that, and some of the examples what I can also share with all of you. Now question will come, what is the principle of natural justice? And again I'm telling, principle of natural justice, we can say it is an soul of an administration of justice. And again, a speaking order is essential on the part of a principle of natural justice. You know that the principle of natural justice has come to be known as being part of the guarantee contained in the Article 14 of our Constitution. So the order which is issued in violation of Article 14 of the Constitution, the concept of equality, the violation of rule of natural justice, it is arbitrariness, hence it is equivalent to the discrimination. So definitely there is a discrimination has been found by the departments while dealing with the replies of the client. Violation of principle natural justice by the state result into violation of Article 14. So in a nutshell, I will tell, the justice is not given what is expected in the principle or concept of equality. So there is a arbitrariness and there is a discrimination we found in the process of adjudication of different orders. So what are the situations that violate the principle of natural justice? Notice itself is not served. Friends, many cases, just I will explain to you. State GST, many of the state GST, they are serving the notice in the web portal. A small trader or the dealer may not in a position to retrieve the notices in time. The 7 days, by the time they are retrieving the notice, the due date is over for submissions. And many cases we found the due since the due date is over, and already I told you many cases the submission of the last date is 7th day, and the hearing also taken place 7th day. And in many cases they are giving 30 days, but many cases they are giving short notices. So in that case, so notice could not be served. And in case of central GST, they are serving the notice, but sometimes notice is coming late. And no doubt about it, few cases we found that the client, even after receipt of the notice, not giving importance to it, not replying, not responding. They are responding when there is a bank attachment of the demand, or even also when the demand order has been issued. When arbitrary orders are passed by the department without granting opposite of personal hearing. So many cases personal hearing also not given. When relied upon documents or copies, seized documents are not provided by the department despite of the request letter submitted by the association. Since just in this context, I wanted to share a few of my experience. I will complete this, then a few examples I will give by taking into account some of the practical issues which I faced. Cross-examination is denied when the written submission for the notice or for personal hearing is not considered, when the request of modification stay application is not considered, when the fundamental right of the petitioner guaranteed under Article 14 and 21 of the Constitution are not protected, when the personal reasonable time for reply or the adjournment is not is denied without any notice, when the order is passed for new additional demand without issuing revised notice, and among other reasons when speaking order is not passed. These are the only few cases. That's just I'm sharing some of the practical issues to you. So and telling you that how the principle of natural justice is violated. One of the client came to me. Actually he was not earlier my client. For the first time he came to me, and I found for a particular year. I remember it is 1819 perhaps. Section the financial year 1819. And the notice has been issued with the allegation that there's a mismatch of ITC in the G star 2A and 3B. Whatever ITC has been auto reflected, auto populated in the G star 2A, and it was in the 3B the ITC availed is more than that. So the differential tax demand, the so cause has been issued. The notice has been issued to make the reply. The party could not reply because a small party. Amount was more, no doubt about it. But the party, you see what happens, young engineer after leaving service is doing turnover is around 10, 11 crores. So mismatch figure, the small office, but he could not give it that much importance. So subsequently, the first explanation notice has been issued on the scrutiny stage of the application, STM10. Then subsequently the party could not reply. Then the show cause has been issued. When the show cause has been issued, then he came to me. And while I'm going through the portal, I found the mismatch. The first notice has been issued in the July 2018, and his registration has been cancelled. So while he was putting the tender, he found that his registration is no more. Then he met the officials. The officials told that you have availed the ITC, and these are the ITC, around 8 lakhs or some ITC. And these ITC you availed, and where the existence of supplier is not there. So, and you deposit this, then you will restore it. So he has no other alternative. He deposited immediately, and his registration restored. Then he has participated in the tender. Then after 2 months, a similar issue has come around 2 lakhs that there is a mismatch of ITC on the scrutiny we found. You availed it in the 3B and you deposit it. So party deposited it. Then the third notice which came to me, and I found around 7-8 lakhs mismatch. Then they issued the notice. Then I found that I just examined it. What is the issue? So first, in this particular case, you see the notice has been solved. The party could not retrieve it, could not reply properly, and the party cancellation of registration made, and party deposited. So the here the cross up question is coming to mind that when I am talking about mismatch is always cumulative. If in the July my mismatch is 7 lakhs, and in the September my mismatch is late 8 lakhs, so mismatch difference is only 2 lakhs. If in the March my mismatch will come 7 lakhs, so that means the year is 7 lakhs. So already they paid 7 lakhs and 2 lakhs, 9 lakhs, and now again 7 lakhs. So cumulative is 7 lakhs. So while we are replying, we have taken one stand that the mismatch what, and again I'm telling legality I'm not going. Legality again another issue. Legality was there. There is no requirement of availing the ITC on the basis of GST 2A. You know that press release and even also on the Supreme Court decision in the recent past on the basis of Calcutta High Court decisions that there is no requirement in the 1718, 1890 regarding that. So I'm not talking about legality. I'm talking to the not going to the merit of the case. I'm going to the legality. Let us also first see. So now, when I told to the and the second point I found actually the 7 lakhs which he first deposited, the supplier is not. They are not finding the supplier now, but the supplier having a GST registration number, the supplier has issued the tax invoice. The supplier has filed the GST 1. The amount of ITC is already in the GST 2A, 2A, it is already there available in the 2A, on the basis of which the SSC has taken the ITC. So how it is a fake invoice? How the party is not in existence? Even if party is not existent, it does not matter to me. Party already filed the return, we paid the taxes. I appeal the ITC. Where the mistake? So I pointed out that in the during this stage, I told you see the party it is not a fake invoice, and he understand it. The first I told it is a cumulative. So you cannot say that if July mismatch is 7, again 2 months mismatch, again 4 months mismatch. You cannot do that. You have to take mismatch as a whole. And during the period, whatever tax paid, including the 7 lakhs, 2 lakhs, you have to take as tax paid. Then then the proper officer told me that, sir, I already have issued the notice, order to you. You please submit the rectification and I will pass a rectification order. So I submitted with all the facts. First, it is not fake invoice. Your registration cancel is not as per the provisions of law. Since you cancel already restored, so there is no issue at all. But whatever tax paid, you have to refund. On the issue of merit of the case, I am not going. Merit of the case, you can go. There is no requirement of mismatch regarding 2A and 3B during that period. Assuming that provision in existence, but still then you have already taken 7 lakhs plus 2 lakhs, 9 lakhs GST extra, so you have to refund it. What he did, instead of the demand which he raised by taking into account the third difference, he made it 000, not only one page order, rectification order, submissions not taken, not reflected, and the table which you put with demand in the original order made it 000, and no refund, and passed the order. And I met him subsequently. I told, this is not a speaking order, and you have to refund me the money which you excess paid. Then his answer was very, I am explaining to all of you because you may be facing the same issue, and you will find because the order was the original money which was demanded earlier was by his superior. So he is afraid of passing the order for the fund. So he made it 0 and passed the order. So this is the contest. I am talking about the one situation where the issue has been raised. Second issue. Another issue just I wanted to tell you how the principle of natural justice is violated. Now, when relied upon documents or copies, seized documents are not provided by the department despite the request, then it is not it is a violation of principle of natural justice. Why violation? Some supporting case laws I will highlight subsequently, but the facts just you understand. One of the issue I'm talking, it is one of two of my clients are related to the power sector, and they are undertaking the distribution of power, and they have taking as a franchisee, and a franchisee is also treated as a licensee because not required to take the license because they are having a franchise agreement with the distributor as per the provisions of the GST Act 2003. So they are treated as a franchise. In the service tax period, certain demand has been raised on certain issues, and when the demand has been raised in respect of the attracting service tax on uh, service connection, electricity service meter rent, etc. So the demand has been so issued, demand has been raised. Both cases we filed the appeal before the Commission of Appeal. Commission of Appeal on basis of the tribunal decisions and some of the High Court decisions has squashed the order, made it zero, no demand. That is related to service tax period. The same issue was raised by the GST authority during the period of GST. So investigation such has been made. During investigation, his books of accounts has been seized. The party books of accounts has been seized, and they initiated the proceeding. Reply submitting citing that because at the time of seizing of document, we don't have an idea on what basis they are going to seize. What is the reason they seized it? But when we explain that this is the case, their service is not taxable, these are the cases, and we have also produced that they are the supporting decision, superior authority decision, based upon which the entire amount is not covered under taxability, even also under GST law, because there is no difference in definition of exemption what provided earlier for the power sector and in the current entry 25 of the notification by 12 by 2017. There is no difference. So he note down everything. He during the personal hearing he discussed. He told, okay, since it is there, we will not initiate. But unfortunately, we got an order immediately that this is the demand, and he has not highlighted the whatever submission paid. He has not highlighted that the decision which was earlier in our favor, and he simply passed the order. Sorry, he simply issued the show cause notice. And in the show cause notice when issued, we ask for the documents. It is the requirement that if the department is initiating any proceeding against the assessee based upon certain investigation document, the first the investigation document and investigation facts should be reflected in the show cause notice. So regard only talks about that the show cause notice is issued on the based upon the investigation made by the deputy commissioner. But what is the outcome of the investigation? What is the basis on which you are going initiating show cause notice? What is the submissions made during the investigation is not reflected or not taken into consideration? How we come to know? So we ask them to produce the documents because you are going to take a decision based upon the document. So I should have first the privilege to see the documents which you are going to utilize against me for the review of the demand or issuing the show cause notice and subsequent proceeding. But department could not provide, remained silent. We submitted the reply, and it is yet to be adjudicated. So cross-examination is sometimes denied because it is very important. The factual facts which based upon which you are going to put the issuing the show cause notice or the demand has been raised in the appeal stage, it has to be cross-examined. Written submission for the notice or personal hearing is not considered. You see what happens now? Written submission for the notice or for personal hearing. Many cases, the personal hearing has not been extended. The order has been issued. And again, I am telling, even if the law does not require a personal hearing, but still then, principle of natural justice is required, demands for the extension of personal hearing. I will cite some of the case laws subsequently also. Modification of a stay application is not considered. Fundamental right, it is my what factual facts you have to take into consideration. Equal opportunity to be given. And when these are the basic requirement of a principle of natural justice, these are usually violated during the proceedings also. And justice should not only be done but seen to be done. These are the principles one has to follow. One cannot be judged in his own cause. The department officers or the appellate authorities, they cannot judge themselves. They have to see the other side. No party should be condemned unheard. Hearing is my birthright, we can say, fundamental right. I should be heard. Impartial hearing, impartial hearing must be extended to the person against whom charge is framed. Final decision should be by way of a speaking order. So speaking order is very, and it should not be bias order. It should not be prejudicial to the interest of the assist also. At the same time, when it is prejudicial, not to be prejudicial to the revenue, but at the same time should not be prejudicial to the assist also. And another is no man can judge in his own cause or rule against bias. So again, I'm telling, we found during the stage there is a tremendous pressure. This is my view, that revenue to be collected. We many of us always discussing in many of the forums that the revenue has increased. Many of friends in the WhatsApp group sharing that this is the total collection of revenue this month, but nobody sharing that whatever one question always coming to our mind, what revenue has been collected. Is the revenue is collected in the proper manner? Is it a proper demand of tax, or the demand of tax will come subsequently? Uh, Friends, just 1 minute. Whether demand has been raised, it is a real demand. Can the demand will sustain in future? And my view so far, I'm talking about my view, is in many of the cases the demand will not going to sustain. There will be a huge flow of money in future also, as we found in the past in a pre-GST regime. So it is one of the, this is one of the Honorable Supreme Court judgment where it was held that it is one of the fundamental principles of jurisprudence that no man can be a judge in his own cause. If there is a reasonable likelihood of bias, it is in accordance with natural justice and common sense that the justice likely to be so biased should be incapacitated from sitting. In very simple way, I am telling, if the assessing officer, appellated authority, or the authority who is the proper officer who is starting from the scrutiny in the bias mind that any mismatch without verifying further, I can issue the notice and I can issue the show cause. So it is nothing, it is a prejudicial mind, it is a bias mind, and it is not in accordance with the principle of natural justice. Need of show cause notice. Any show cause you have to issue, it should be adequate notice should be given. And the very important point is we should be in the list content, the time, the place and the hearing, legal authority under which the hearing will be taking place. First, the notice has to be given. So, notice has to be given. You submit the reply, and the second is the so notice should contain the ground on which there is a violation of the legal provisions and for which proceeding is initiated. And friends, for your kind information, I am telling the ground on which SOGOS notices has been issued. The adjudicating officer only has to see that that ground is as per the provision or against the provision, whether the reply submitted. So the usually, if later I'm telling a particular SOGOS has been issued, many cases are there. Just I'm giving an example. A SOGOS notice has been issued to the client, treating that transportation of coal or the transportation of iron ore in mining area is handling services, cargo handling services. This is the so-called notice has been shown. Since the party has a claimed exemption So the demand has been raised. I'm giving one of the case from the service tax. A similar case also issued here. So what will happen? The show cause had been issued treating the transportation coal stock. So this is a so if it is not cargo handling servicing, then demand is scarce. Second issue, they are not going to consider. So, but what we found nowadays that the adjudicating officer, if he found that the demand, the so-called notice has been issued is not correct, but the other way it is taxable, the many of the cases the departmental officers also treating it is a taxable on the other head, which should not be. If the adjudicating officer, appellated authority, even also tribunal, should not go beyond the ground on which demand raised. Alternative issue they are not going to consider, taxability, not taxability. They have to examine that whether the ground on which taxability has been raised by the proper officer is correct or not. So the so notice should contain very clearly the ground on which the uh, the demand has to be raised, which category the demand is falling. So this is the very important adequate notice should be given. There is a need of a show cause notice. There are different decisions have been highlighted. Then adequate opportunity being had. The opportunity of being had should be real, reasonable, and effective. The same should not be for namesake. It should not be a paper opportunity. There was no. This was held in. This is one of the. There are many decisions are there. Just few decisions I put it. First, just I'm telling, now the video conferencing basis, the appearance also appeared. Sometimes due to disturbance during the video conferencing, few cases we found that the adjudicating authority, appellate authority, the other side also there, so which is not visible. But since the date is fixed, uh, they are continuing. We do not in a position to know whether they are in the position or only they are recording it. But in my view, there should be a proper hearing. And I found during the course of appellated authority, many of the cases, even also adjudicating authority, they are listening to it properly. Para by para, whatever reply is submitted, they are going to it and understanding, examining, passing an order. Many cases, simple, they are listening. They wanted to dispose within 15 minutes. I am giving the two examples in this respect. I was dealing with one of the proper officer of other state, where I submitted the tax demand was very huge tax demand, around 90 crores tax demand, interest and penalty, and we submitted the reply, and it was around 70 pages reply, para-wise reply with alternative reply, because revenue neutrality concept also there. So you know that in case of revenue neutrality, demand should not sustain, penalty interest should not sustain. If I taxpayer, I could have taken the ITC. So ultimately, the government is not going to lose. So a number of cases are there. So we have taken alternatives. And in the video conferencing, when we have appeared and discussing the matter, the adjudicating authority was listening it one by para. And friends, just as I remember, more than 1 hour, the hearing was continued. Para by para, he made the counters. He understand the facts, and simply he told that okay, I receive once again your submission. I understand your submission with reference to the show cause and whatever possible best justice will give to. Friends, honestly, I'm telling what happens after 2-3 months. I got an order where the demand has been reduced. The penalty 100% 74 has converted to the 73. Actually, it should cover 73. Rightly, he has done it. And some amount with his concept, the demand substantially come down. I'm not telling the figure to you. Substantially, in the sense, it has come down to around 10% instead of 100%. And the penalty has come down to 10% instead of 100%. And interest around 15 or 17 lakhs on crores on which interest was charged. So a huge demand of crores come down to 5 crores or 6 crores. So now question here is, so we have gone to the first appealated forum for that demand also, but at the same time we found department also gone for the appeal for the demand which they reduced, and section 73 applied in place of 74. Department went also. So both are pending at appealated stage. So now question is, this is a case where adjudicating officers, considering your reply, giving adequate opportunity being had. But I am giving another case, just I'm explaining to you real case recently. I got 2 orders. I'm sharing with you regarding one is a government PSU where the original show cause was issued. Investigation was made on 2 aspects. One aspect in the liquidated damage where the huge demand was calculated, not demanded because it was investigation stage, and we defended it. We told that compensation is not taxable under GST law. It is a compensation under section 73, 74 of the Indian Contract Act. It will not cover under 5E, particularly under Schedule 2 as a tolerate one act. It should not be taxable. So there was a lot of arguments, and it took 1 year. And he imposed to convince management to pay the money. I told that we will go to the adjudication, but will not pay the money. And ultimately, he dropped it by issue of the circular. Department clarified it is coming under section 73, 74. As I remember exactly what we submitted, the department circular also in that time. But still, department in many other cases of they are disputing. The second was issue was related to the some guarantee commission. I'm just talking about you a mixed experience with that order. So what is the mixed experience? The guarantee commission, you know, when the guarantee is given, not personal guarantee, when guarantee is given and the consideration is received, department of the view that it is a supply. So a clarification was given in the March 2018, as I remember, that it is subject to the GST. So guarantee given by the central government to its publicity undertaking or state government to publicity undertaking for availing loan from the bank or the final banks. It has been given first the financial institution is taxable. Subsequently, exemption notification has been issued in respect of financial institution in the month of 26th July 2018. Subsequently, again the notification has come out in the month of December that from 1st January 2019, it will be also exempted for the banks. And a clarification given that exemption notification appeared in the serial number 334A or something of the notification and exempt the guarantee commission from 1st January 2019. This was the background. And what is the issue? Issue was, you know, that if any, first is legalities whether guarantee commission is subject to the GST or not, because it has referred to the GST Council, where GST Council issued the notification of exemption, where it is given that it is inconvenient for the government to collect the guarantee commission. So that means, and it may be treated as sovereign guarantee also. So first stand we have taken that it is sovereign guarantee not subject to the GST. The second stand has been taken, assuming that it is taxable to GST, but it is paid on the reverse charge. Reverse charge is under payment basis. So if you payment basis, the demand should be only for 1 year, not for the 3-4 years. And we submitted it. Third, also we have given that citing certain Supreme Court judgment that when a clarification notification has come, as per the Supreme Court notification, the clarification should be, if it is a oppressive, it is against me, then it should be applied from the date of that clarification. There is some Supreme Court judgments are there, and the notification should be from effective from the date of notification. And RCM is applicable, place of supply is applicable in case of RCM on the date of payment or 60 days from the issue of the invoice, wherever invoice is issued, or any other document. So here the no invoice issued, any other document is letter issued. So if you count to 60 days from the date of issue of the letter or the payment, whichever earlier is the date of RCM is applicable for the payment of GST. And if it is beyond the exemption date, so it is not applicable. So only 1 year is applicable. So this reply has been mixedly considered. How the mixedly considered? The adjudicating officer has not discussed anything about our stand sovereign guarantee. So they have to discuss. It is not speaking order to that extent. The second part, he has explained the exemptions. He has countered the Supreme Court judgment which I put, and very nicely he countered it. I am not telling that it is not correct, but it was reasoned order. So he put these are the submissions. These decisions of the High Court, Supreme Court has been examined, and we found that this case is not applicable in the present case. So we have seen it. And third case, he has explained it. He has explained that the RCM is applicable on payment basis. And he simply one in this case, an invoice is not issued, one letter is issued, then it is not acceptable. But he has not mentioned that the RCM is applicable within 60 days from the issue of any other document or payment whichever is earlier. And he has not mentioned. And very interesting, I have given a factual table in the sense highlighting year-wise. What is the date of accounting? What is the amount accounted? What is the date of accounting? What is the date of issue of the letter, demand letter? What is the date of payment? Then what is the 60 days? And which is the earlier? And which provision is attracted? Section 13, subsection 3, A or you can see the order will tell that it is not a correct order. So that's why that has not been put up. They have omitted it. And pass the order, simple written that it is a demand is confirmed. Another point I found, this is not a reasoned order, it is not a speaking order. And another we found that the pre-deposit we made to avoid the interest if future demand will confirm. So that pre-deposit we have made in non-protest. He has not mentioned in the order that it is on one we have seen. All facts known to the department, exemption claimed not applied, annual return submitted, and when there is ample of case laws are there, if the bona fide belief is there, this particular amount is not subject to tax and not paid the tax, subsequently taxable, penalty should not be there. Interest is applicable because interest is compensatory nature. But that has not been discussed also. So in this case, what we found, to some extent, the discussion part which made by putting the our submissions and discussed, countered, even wrongly countered, rightly countered, we are not questioning it. This is nothing but a opportunity given, adequate opportunity given to hard us and pass the order as a speaking order. But the extent which is not covered, these are not speaking orders. And if you are not speaking order, it can be squashed by the higher authorities. And we are going for the appeal, again I'm telling. So the next one is adjournment. Adequately, you see what happens now, whenever I allow for adjournment, you have to allow. But unfortunately, under GST law, more than 3 adjournment is not possible. And we should have been, we has to be considered. Medical ground, other ground has to be considered. A party who has been allowed sufficient long time to reply may not be entitled for adjournment. Long time reply should not be. When there is short time, it should be applied. Income tax also we found. Recently one client we found 7 days notice has been given for reassessment so-called. 7 days is not possible. It is not possible to get the documents from the bank, verify and reply within 7 days, because by receiving of the notice 2 days already gone, because it is uploaded in the portal. Income tax, the same principle is applicable here also. Effective reply against so-called notice cannot be overstated. You cannot, and demonstrate that justice is done. The authority has to grant adjournment. If the adjournment is not granted, then the justice is not granted. So usually many of the officers are granting the adjournment. Many of the cases they are not granting. So granting is a right, and many of the cases in fact justice must not only be done, must be seen to be done. So that means justice, what we can say, adjournment should be given wherever there is a sufficient reason, difficulty of the assessee, and it should be recorded. Another, we found many of the officers, whatever some there are difference I'm talking. In case of central GST, whenever you are going for personal hearing, they are recording your additional submissions. They are recording there, and both are signing, giving you a copy. Many of the central government GST cases officers, proper officers, recording, not giving. But both cases, the additional submissions, they are reflecting in the order, citing that so and so date the legal representative so and so has appeared, and in addition to the reply submitted, these are the submissions made. But in state, we found many cases, many of the states who order we have seen, they are not recording. There is no record at all. You simply go nowhere, whether you appear not, or there is no proof at all. And if they want, they can say that you have not appeared. But it is not like in the central case. So, if we are seeking adjournment, they are extending it. No record for extension, but it should be record of extension. So adjournment should be given, and right to fair hearing. One has to hear it. Many cases we found the proper officer has issued the notice. Time we are waiting, meeting. There is some other work. You wait. Come in the afternoon. That is also not fair. So that's time, place, nature of hearing, and the legal authority under which the hearing has to be taken place should be mentioned. Who is going to hear it, and the specific charges, grounds, proposed action of the accused has to be met. So first is ground wise the hearing has to be taken place. So first ground, second ground, third ground, alternative ground, and similarly for the interest, and similarly for the penalty. So that has to be given. And penalty front, I just wanted to tell you, many of the cases, they are not accepting the decisions, even also pre-GST cases also. And post GST cases, as such, it should be applicable. Advance ruling, many cases they are not accepting. Advance ruling, again I'm telling, it is for specific assessing, but still then the principle based upon which advance ruling has been issued can be taken as a fair in other cases also. And these are the few cases, because time is not there. I will share it and you can see. The right to present case and evidence. So I can submit additional documents. I can present my case with different modes, with different records. Record report of inquiry to be shown to the assessee. Actually, if they are not going to give me, they can show me during the hearing stage. I can take adjournment and submit accordingly reply to the investigation reports. So if they are not giving this, at least they should give the copies also. As one example I have given to you. Right to review to adverse evidence. I have all right. I am not accepting it. And friends, for your kind information, if you are not convincing with the grounds on which the demand or so-called notices have been issued, or demand order has been issued, or appeal order has been issued, you reboot it with sufficient ground reason. Right to cross-examine, right to legal representative. The assessee can hire himself or can appoint any of the legal representative or author representative. So you can tell. And in many cases, author representative may be preoccupied. So in that case, the assessing authority, the proper officer should allow the time, or appeal authority should allow the time. disclose of evidence material to the assessee, and sometimes the assessing officer, proper officer also allowing to note down the or inspect the files based upon which the demand notice has been raised or show cause raised, or we can say the appeal order is raised. They can also tell us. We can note down it also, and they can allow me to that time to note down everything. That should be allowed. And the speaking order is very important. And speaking order, to some extent, I explained to you a few cases, the grounds on which the record of the region is important. When the party aggrieved claimed that the order passed by the authority in the case is erroneous, then the speaking order has to be given. Record region operate as a deterrent against the similar cases. Again, I'm telling you, whatever region is recorded, that will be examined by the higher authority. Many cases we found the higher authority, if the region is not recorded, in that case the higher authority squash the order. So it is one way good for the assessee. On that ground, I can go that it is not a speaking order. And friends, for your kind information, whenever we found the order is not a speaking order, or the order is issued without considering the principles what we discussed, without giving time, arbitrarily passed, no adjournment given, no submission, no inspection of documents. So what happens? The High Court, people are going to the High Court, but what happens? The High Court, in that case, remitted back to the adjudicating authority or the appeal authority. In that case, it is a expenditure. One has to incur the expenditure, legal expenditure, but ultimately again he has to come back. When there is a huge demand, you don't have any other alternative. It is better to go for the writ and come back. For a small assessee, though your financial condition are good, it's not practically possible to go to each and every case to the uh, High Court for a writ. There's a department also issued instructions in many cases to make the order, which is speaking order. I am referring, morning I was referring one of the order, refund orders. One occasion, 2022, department has issued one instruction, and one of the para they put that while allowing the refund on the basis of refund application, the order should be a speaking order. The region has to be recorded, and it should be a speaking order. Very clearly they have mentioned. Even if to that extent, but the proper officers are not also taking into consideration the instructions, issued the order without recording the region. And before going for, just I wanted to give another example to tell